Okay, we are live for those watching back and currently watching. Hello, do we have a name? We're rewatching rereading the Wallflower series.
We're the Wallflowers, I guess.
We're the Wallflowers.
I know,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah, we are reading, or some of us are rereading, the Wallflower series by Lisa Kleypas, and we are going to be discussing It Happened One Autumn. And we mentioned in our live today, in our group chat today, like it just happened to be the first day of autumn.
That's so perfect.
I know, it's perfect.
Wow. And B will be in the comments, so you can say hi to her there. But
hi everyone!
Yay.
Oh my
God!
Hello.
I guess to start it off, people in the comments and here can like talk about if they've read the book before and like what they rated it. Awesome. Saying hello.
Oh my gosh. Hi everyone.
Hi,
Hello.
I'm a first-time Wallflower reader, so this is my very first time, and I enjoyed this read. I've been enjoying tracking it, like with reading it through audio and the physical copy, at least especially for this one.
Yes.
And so that's just been a really fun experience. And then going back and looking at my friends' videos of what they thought after I finish a book, I will go and look at what everyone's opinions were about the book and just seeing the excitement of them covering like her entire backlist. Did that with Lisa, Christy, B has some videos up. So it's just been fun. The entire experience. Fun. I can't wait. And I guess there's some nuggets in this one because the St. Vincent kept popping up.
Yes.
So this one was really fun to read. The first time, or knowing like all of like the lore and the love that's coming later, I felt like I could track a few things. Yeah, going in.
What'd you give it?
I rated this a 4.5.
Okay. Yay! I'm curious, what's the difference between like the new version and the original? Like, what did they change?
So in the prologue, I really enjoyed the prologue as is.
Me too.
After finishing the book, I can understand. I'm not going to understand the changes, but I really like the prologue as is. Yeah. Here, I will say some of the other changes that were made, where the book is now, I think contributed to a better rating of this book.
Okay.
And my insight on like just him as a hero, and so. Ultimately, I kind of like landed on the changes were made and like I enjoyed their story. But at first, when I was reading the prologue, I think it does such a good job of like showing you the kind of heroine that Lillian is. And it made me rethink. I keep saying that a lot of these modern or just headstrong women that are in historicals, I always say like they're ahead of their time. And when I was reading this, I kept thinking like, no, she's not. She is a woman of her time, but she just wasn't seen by her time. And a lot of the stuff that was cut that speaks to, if you've been reading along with us or you've read the first book, I remember in the last book, she talks about wanting to start a perfume business. Like her father owns this soap company and they're American. Her and her sister Daisy are just everything. And in the beginning of this book, in the prologue, she's at a perfume shop. And the parts that were cut out speak to her nose, how she has like a natural instinct to just be able to draw the scent of people, like the notes within perfumes. And the shopkeeper's really impressed by that, almost thinks that she's doing it by accident. And I think it just kind of shows like her natural ability, her like business prowess and everything like that, and her independence. And also, more importantly, when it comes to the sort of love potion aspect of this, to the fact that she's actually a very practical woman, and so it's her hero. And so I was sad that those parts were cut out.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like the prologue adds so much to Lillian's character. I just feel like the original prologue is just a really great way to start the story. But I also agree with you, and I'm seeing some comments about the changes that they made further on into the book. I will say I expected more edits than I actually found, because I was listening to the edited audiobook while following along with my original physical version. They really only changed one scene. and it's their first like intimate scene, where in the edited version they just like kind of kissed and maybe fooled around a little bit, but nothing like actually happened after she got drunk off of the pear brandy. Whereas in the original they do have sex. So I agree that it ultimately did help the book making that change, and also like because of that change, she also had to change up the dialogue surrounding that whole scene, and I agree that it helped the book and it fit Marcus's personality a bit more. But all in all, there really should be a disclaimer that the book has been edited the way that it has. But yeah.
That's a really great, you know what? I really like that you said that, because I kept mulling over while going through this, like, how do I feel? Ultimately, I do believe like an author, if they want to change their work, that's their story. They should be able to change their work. As a reader, candid, like what I should probably say for the group chat and FaceTime with friends, it always makes me upset. I'm like, what is going on here? It does. It always makes me personally, like I feel personally attacked. I feel upset. I feel like the history is being eradicated, and I get a little like wonky about that. But I think just a disclaimer, just let us know. That would be great, because then personally I could do my due diligence and hunt down like the original if I want to read that. And I think that that's a good fix for that. You could just know ahead of time, because it really feels like, oh my gosh, this is being done in secret. And thankfully, you know, I get by with a lot of help from my bookish friends. People have let me know like this has been changed or that's being changed, and I've gotten tips just because we're a community here. But it would be nice to have a little you know, disclaimer. That's a good fix.
I read it before, which I think was the original. This time I ended up reading the new version through audio just by happenstance. Okay.
Yeah.
And then B.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very different, because she gave the new one 4.5 stars. So stars versus 4.5 stars. Yeah.
I actually agree. I think the big change further into the book actually helped the book for me. The original version, that scene just didn't seem fit for Marcus's personality.
I could see that.
And she left something in there that still made me mad. About
what
he did. You know, trying to show that St. Vincent ain't it. And it's like, are we doing this or we're not? There's a portion of the book where I was like, he still made me mad, but that almost felt like a petulant, like child response, like mine. And that kind of speaks to him as well, because he's very like domineering and controlling with those that he loves. And so I was like, okay, I'd rather it be showcased through that, even though that pissed me off, and it pissed me off because it's a literal like manifestation of hot and cold to make a point. And in reality, that's not what he intentionally went in to do. I think he just couldn't like help himself because of her. So I like that. She still reads him. She still shows like that side, but without all of the pear scene, which I'm sure we'll get into. Because I was like, I was shocked. I was like, oh, this is what we're doing. So yeah, it definitely helped.
And like some of her heroes have that like bit of like unhingedness to them. Marcus does in the original, because after they do have sex for the first time, she's like, no, nothing needs to happen. Like we don't have to get married. Like my parents are not going to kick me out, blah, blah, blah. And then in the original version, he says something of like, well, you could have a baby. Like you could be pregnant right now. And that's a claim on you. And like something.
Yes.
That reminds me of something that like McKenna thinks in Again the Magic. Of, like, get her pregnant. And like,
yeah, he's like, it's a done deal. St. Vincent it right now and sit back while I wash you off. I was like, Marcus, it was too much.
Yeah, right.
And she gives him a shot. She says, is there any other reason? Like, this is your Hail Mary. Is there any other reason other than obligation that you want to marry me? Well, you're beautiful and intelligent, and you might be bearing my son. So that this is the.
You know what that reminds me of? You know, the Swan Princess, where she's like, is beauty all that matters to you?
Oh, yeah.
What else is there? Yeah. Okay,
Well,
B said, what, were you going to say something, Tiffany?
No.
Okay. B said it's not even the actual sex scene. It's the way he treats her afterward and the conversation he has with her in St. Vincent the next day.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Those changes were ultimately for the better.
Mhm.
I don't know why I couldn't get into the story this time. Lillian bugged me. I felt
Mm.
conflicted about it.
Mhm.
Okay, so I think we should go to like, so we get the perfume shop scene in the prologue, which I also liked. It just also just she's showing off too. Like I like how she describes the shop and the wares and the crystal and like the kind of like space this would be in the time. She does such a good job with that in the prologue and like ushering you in. I was sad that that was taken out. So like in the original version, she's there, you know, Daisy's nipping at her heels and she wants to go because she feels like it's boring. I love Daisy so much.
But the
And
prologue's still in the audiobook.
It is, but it was edited.
So is it just certain scenes?
yes,
Okay.
it's edited out. So like them shopping and her basically talking about how she has her own formula for a perfume and she wants to start a business and all of the notes.
Yes.
And so that part's taken out. It's
I
not
don't
like
get why. What's the reason for taking that out?
I don't know.
I don't see why, because like I just feel like it adds something to her character. It doesn't like.
Well, it's like, isn't that giving her less of an agency? Like that she actually wants to go and do something? Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. That is the one thing I do not understand. That
I don't get it.
That's very strange.
The only thing I can think of is maybe they just wanted to put more emphasis on like this perfume that was sold to her that is the love potion and like not have any other distraction. But like, I don't know.
Christy, what was your rating?
Oh, so this is a reread. This whole series is a reread for me. And so this one has always been 4.5 stars for me and it stays that way. And I'm actually in the minority, I guess, because I like the original better. So I don't know what that says about me as a person, but it's fine.
Oh my goodness. This was
I just like the complexity of like characters it shows more. Like, I don't know, they're just not perfect. It's very of the time, like not just like when it was written, but like of the historical time. Like he would have those kind of thoughts and feelings about her, and just I don't know, I just enjoy it. So
and I guess you read more. I think out of all of us, you probably read the more older historicals anyway. So maybe you're more like desensitized. Maybe I don't know the right word for it.
Because I do enjoy like older ones more than the modern, like or newer written. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
I think it influences too having both, because if this was the only one I had, like I really can't say it because I had both to kind of compare it to.
True.
Yeah, this is a reread for me too. This is only my second time reading these books in this series. And you know, when I read it for the first time, this was back in 2020, so before the edits were made. And I definitely do not remember that scene hindering my enjoyment. In fact, I remember when I first heard about Lisa Kleypas and her publisher making edits, and I had specifically heard about that scene in this book, I was like, what's the big deal? Like, you know, and but at the time it had been a couple of years since I read the book. And so now upon reread, I'm like, oh, I kind of get it. Okay, you know. But the first time I read it, I gave this 4 stars, and then I upped it to like 4.5 to 5 stars somewhere around there upon reread. So
awesome.
Okay.
And this is also a reread for me. I think this is my 3rd time reading it. I don't keep track, I don't think, of rereads. I should. And I don't personally rate books anymore, but I think I gave this 4 stars the first time I read it. So yeah, and I still enjoy my time. I wouldn't rate it any lower than that for sure if I were rating books right now. So.
And how do we all feel about Lillian as a character? I loved them going back to Stony Cross and him hiding in the parlor, like, oh my God, they're here, you know?
Here, one second.
I love her.
Let me get
she's just like such a strong character, like a strong heroine. And I feel like heroines kind of get like strong heroines like that kind of get different opinions from readers, you know what I mean? Like they get a hard time, but like I love her for just being like so brash and like just says whatever and goes like toe to toe with him a lot.
Yeah, like she really is the perfect match for him.
Yes.
You know, she really does go toe to toe with him. She's not going to let him get away with his domineering bullshit. And like she is a breath of fresh air. They both are, Daisy and Lillian. And like I think my favorite parts of this book are like earlier in the book, like when they play rounders again with like the stable hands and like And like Marcus even joins in, and like
I know
that. Like,
and he
it's
teaches
so
her how
fun.
to
like
bat.
innuendos when she's teaching her how to bat.
I
She's like, I like a
it.
long bat, and they're like laughing. She's like, why are you laughing?
She's like, what? What's wrong?
I love it because she still has that like innocence to her.
Yes.
He does.
Okay, let me get caught up on these comments. Sorry, I'm horrible at hosting because I always get behind on comments. Okay, I originally gave it 5 stars, but I gave it 3. I don't know why, but I couldn't get into the story. Lillian, we already read that one. Okay. I do have copies of both versions, but prefer the original. Lillian's reaction to that night is the reason it worked for me. She felt like it was okay and still felt safe with Marcus. Okay. B says, "Oh, the secret garden scene.
Oh yeah, that is a good scene."
Oh my God. And I really love, even when they first arrive, how they keep going to that fountain. Like, and she's like, I got to make a wish for Annabelle. And like, Lillian gets exactly what she wishes for. She wanted a woman to bring him to his knees. I was like, highlight. This is so great. She's like that poor girl that he ends up with.
Yeah.
I remember saying that.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
And I love them as a duo. And I think there were other ways that she showcased like her prowess. Like immediately when her mom's like, you guys are taking a nap, no one's leaving this room. And as soon as she leaves, she's like picking the lock. Let's go. I loved them as a duo together as sisters.
Well, when they're talking about all their hijinks they got up to in New York together, I was like, here for it.
They were raising hell in New York. Oh my God.
Okay, so like the first version.
Marcus
is starts to Dumbo. When it comes to Lillian, you will get biscuits forever.
Totally.
Yeah. And I love how he just doesn't get it. Like he's like, okay, I'm going to just ignore her. Like it's just like benign neglect. And then like Daisy says it to Lillian, like, what if you just like be nice to him? And they just can't.
Well, I love when he just like can't get over how much he's into her, and he calls her. I think he calls her a shrew at one point in the beginning. Yeah, and he's like, she's so annoying, and like, but why can't I stop looking at her and thinking about her?
Yes. And even his like sister noticed it.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. She clocks it from the beginning. So, and I love that part because he starts like labeling things like she's manipulative. And she's like, so are you. She's overbearing. So are you. Well, it seems like you have a lot of time.
Yeah. Sometimes seems like Lisa Kleypas removes stuff that absolutely makes no sense.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Yes, Christy, I don't remember.
I think that was about like in the original and like.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, y'all. I'm so behind. I feel bad.
No, you're good.
Lovely. She was cool. She's like playing rounders. She's like doesn't know how to ride side saddle. Like, why don't you just put both legs over? I loved that. That whole like interaction between them and like the banter. I was like, why are you telling her no? Like, I have
their banter's good.
Ooh, I like this B. It says for my IPB readers out there, Lillian is the Liz of the Wallflowers. I used to really dislike Lillian, but this read I found myself really liking. Okay, that is so true. I didn't even notice that.
So good. Like she just cuts down, like, especially when it's like all the things, it works because they don't know London society. And if like you're new to historicals, I think that's great too, because it's not that they're just scoffing at it. Like they're unraveling the logic of why can't I just like bow to somebody that I do know? Why are we eating the calves' heads? Like all of the like traditions. Yeah. They just kind of like, if I have a question, she just outright asks the question. What is with all of this propriety? Because obviously it's not doing anything to really bring in a husband or not. It's gonna happen. So I like that about her. Very headstrong.
I agree with Cheryl. She said she especially won me over when she said she would kill St. Vincent if she ever married him.
They would not be a good match.
Can we talk about St. Vincent? Because I was like, what did I write? And I'm gonna be honest, when I first came across the last name Lord St. Vincent, I didn't know it was devil. Because he kept popping up, I stopped and then I went to go read the synopsis for Devil in Winter, because before I was like annotating and I'm like, he's just a scene stealer. Because he's in one passage, Marcus is talking about how he is like beyond reproach, like he's unsavable, all of these things. And in the same breath, he's saying that he was loyal and that he was good to him when they were growing up and that he was generous. And he was the first to jump in to defend him in a fight. So I'm like, which is it? And just like his Oh my gosh, his one-liners are his account of why he's even at Stony Cross because of his affair. I was like, this is tea. I was just eating it up. I was like, this is tea. I was like, what happened?
He's a scandalous man.
And I love like that scene in the carriage after she gets kidnapped, because Lillian could have been trying to find a way out of the carriage and like yelling and screaming and like fighting him or whatever. I mean, she was still kind of drugged, but I love that like she sat back and she was just like, I'm gonna kill you if you marry me. Like and then he says something like, well, it's bound to happen that somebody was gonna kill me.
And she even like makes him pause a little bit, because there's a moment where she's like staring at him and thinking, is this a person that just like moves through life like an actor? Does he even care about anyone at all? And like Lisa Kleypas like writes it like she's just like staring and thinking this, and he like stops what he's doing because she's like analyzing him. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Lord St. Vincent equals petulant, pampered cat. I imagine him draped over a throne.
Yes.
Yes.
And then you'll see the next book, Evie's there just petting him.
The very end of this book is just iconic. The very, very end, man. It's so good. One of my favorite little epilogues.
Oh yeah, and then like there's like a little bit of the first chapter of the next one. I read it because I was like, well, what is she doing here?
Yeah.
I was like, girl. And so I was very surprised, which I also like all of like the tidbits, like feels like a series, because we do get to hear about Eileen and McKenna and the baby in this.
Yes.
And then we get more tea. Because St. Vincent, okay, Dylan's just dropping tea. Okay, then he tells her, because I was like, this character, it was at that point where I was like, let me go look up the other book, because he's just dropping all this tea about the Countess and her past and how she was with a footman and that Livia, like, have you ever noticed that Livia doesn't look like her? And like, it really spoke to, at that point in time, I didn't know what the Countess was going to do, but it really spoke to like just the man of honor Marcus was, still having her there in the home doing his like a duty, right? Despite how his parents were and like the dynamic that they must have grown up in, and also like why she was just so browbeating when she decided to sponsor them. And I really liked that. I had no idea. I was like, okay, so you're out here with footmen, but it's not okay for like these ladies to do something for themselves or to like not be perfect at this whole like propriety dance. So that was interesting. But he kept dropping so many gems. All this is, and I love it. And also Evie, like, so we see a little bit from the first book, like we hear a little bit about how she's being treated by the family, but it fully goes into
you see it in here.
You see it in here. I'm like, they're starving her and keeping her locked in it. Like that's when I was like, and I also
more in the beginning of book 3.
Oh,
like,
the beginning of book 3 for sure. Yeah,
because I was just like, this is crazy. What's bringing her? That's what I'm interested in seeing. Like, what's bringing her to the man that she knows kidnapped her friend? Okay, with a deal. Because I'm like, ooh, marrying your cousin. This is out of control. So like, kind of writing that in, and even Annabelle saying like she's not ready to be next because their whole pact is like the next in line in terms of age. She's like, she's too fragile around men, and I'm like, and so when I looked at the synopsis, I was like, these two are supposed to be together. Oh my God.
But Tiffany, haven't you read some of the Ravenel books?
I've read his children.
Yes.
So you've seen scenes of him being like Daddy Sebastian. Like, with Evie, which like those are some of my like absolute favorite scenes of those books, even though it's clearly not their romance, but like
same here.
You know, like,
I eat up all the moments of them with a spoon. Like stop. I want a whole spin-off series of just them with their children, all day.
Because I read the Ravenels first, and like my favorite book by her is Devil in Spring, which is the kids' book.
That's a good one.
And you get to see them in like little glimpses of the kids' books, and even then I was like, okay, I like them. Let's go back and read their books.
And here we start to see like Marcus's relationship with Annabelle, like being his best friend's wife. And I love that throughout this series, throughout the Ravenel series, like seeing all of these couples and like not just their own like marriages, but like their friendships with each other, like growing. And like, it's just so fun. Like a lot of these characters I like more because of their interactions that they'll have later on, like with their friendships with each other.
Yes. Like
Same with Simon. Like I was like, oh wow, like they're really friends, and him just kind of letting Marcus figure it out. Like, yeah, you could be right, sure. Like spending the day lovemaking is unproductive. Sure.
Oh yeah,
like,
only
no
once
one
a
agrees
week.
with him.
Once a week.
Once, yeah, like no one agrees with him.
That
Like,
back at him.
what is all this work for? That was so funny. They were like, he's like, I'm gonna go find my wife. Me too.
The scene where all the girls like try the perfume.
Yes. Yes.
That was so hilarious to me. I was like, she literally thinks, and I think it was Annabelle, she was like, a woman that is so practical as you, Lillian, to think that this is a love potion. Right. I cannot. And they're all like, they all know. But Daisy's like willing to try. I love how like Daisy's always on board.
No one's enthralled by me. Like she's like,
I know.
Like, when is it be my turn?
I just imagine them being at the ball, like passing this thing around, and she's like, "This is it." Because how can a man that despises me be into me? Like it's the perfume.
And then when Annabelle like comes up to Marcus, and he's like, "Are you good? Like, what are you doing?"
He's like, "Why are you so up in my face?"
Like, do you notice anything about me? And he's like, "Oh, your hairdo?" Like,
yeah.
And then like the next day, Annabelle is like actually upset because she's like, Simon kept me up.
Yes. And Daisy being like, doing what? Like, I don't get it. I was dying.
Oh my goodness.
Well, yeah, because in the OG one, after like the pear scene, and like Lillian tells her, like, look, we were in bed all night. She goes, and she's like, and I'm assuming that it wasn't just a nap. Because now Daisy's picking up romance books.
Yeah.
And I love that. She's like, I'm assuming it wasn't just a nap. Or then she just like, I don't even need to rely on you anymore. I know what happened. Because in my books, and Lillian's like, it's not like it is in the books, okay? And she's like, no swooning? Like, what are you talking about?
She's like, if you swooned, you'd miss something.
That's how I was. I wasn't making the connection because he's not called Devil.
Well, and because by those books, he's the Duke. So I think, I forget, is it like Duke of Kingston or something?
He has a different title, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, I always forget that he eventually becomes the Duke. So yeah. I always think of him as St. Vincent. So
I know. Yeah.
I was like, who is this guy? Just like kneeling in the corner with all of the tea, all of the stories, all of the drama. I'm like, his parents are cutting him off. Creditors are dipping. I'm like, this is too much. And he's there. And there was something that I also liked about him because he saw Lillian. Like he saw her for everything that she was and wasn't like turned off by that. And that's also what I liked about him too. Like he found her to be entertaining. He liked the fact that she talked back. He liked that she stoked Marcus's ire and like spoke back to him. And he was there to like, help. Oh my God, I love that when Marcus is like, get her out of here. Like,
oh yeah.
That freaking horse scene. Oh my God. And she was so mad at Annabelle. She's like, she should have kept her mouth shut. Here comes Marcus. She's about to ride and he's cutting her off. I'll think about letting you ride once I test and see your ability. And she goes, well, why don't I do a couple jumps first and then you can assess? And he's like, no, like that back and forth. That's so loud. I loved it. Sebastian in the column.
Kind of a little. I would disagree with you in some ways, but I see where you're coming from.
They're like the reverse of each other because Colin goes goofball and goes that like that like class clown kind of like side, and like Sebastian is like more like brooding, like it's like a darker humor.
Yes.
Yes. Like he's a pot stirrer. Like,
yes.
Oh yeah. But
Lillian like sees a lot through his stuff. Like in the beginning, she's like, okay, he's like actually kind of a gentleman, even though he's pretending not to be. And like, I think she asks him at one point, like, what is like, how many of these rumors about you are like actually true? And he's like, probably only half. Like, he just plays into it.
So funny.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not a gentleman. You don't know much about society, do you?
Mhm.
Which is like another cut to it too. He's like, I'm not really a gentleman. I love all that stuff, like the questioning of why things are the way that they are. Like that dinner was absolutely hilarious, where she's like, why am I towards the head of the table? And he's like, I need to keep you at arm's length so I could reach out and grab you at any moment. I was like, Marcus, this is inappropriate.
But when he takes her away, when he sees she's uncomfortable, and he's like, let's go to the butterfly garden, like right now.
And the other guy's like, what kind of butterfly?
Yeah, the other guy's like, I want to see it.
And he's like, we should go in small groups so we don't scare this.
We don't want to scare it. Exactly.
And then the butterfly guy is like,
I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
True.
And there is, I do want to briefly bring this up. There is an edit that they made to this book that makes me happy to reread Devil in Winter, because they edited out, they do bring up the fact that Evie was like, oh, I'll just marry my cousin Eustace or whatever. And in the original version, they go on for like a page about how overweight he is and like how gross he is. And so in Devil in Winter, the original version, that's what stopped me from giving that book a 5 stars, actually. Because every time that character was on page, and I get that he's not a good guy, but like the over the top descriptions of how like overweight he is, I'm like, Lisa,
no, we don't need that.
I'm hoping that was edited out because it was edited out here. So that'll make me really happy to see. But I just
was this book written in the early 2000s?
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah, because like I'm connecting it to like I'm rewatching. I've never seen Project Runway before.
2005.
I'm watching all of them from the first season on, and it started in like the early 2000s, and like all the judges are saying like, oh, she looks so fat, like she could be a plus size model. I'm like, the hell? And so like I think it's also that time period.
Yeah,
that's what I grew up with.
So,
yes, early 2000s, man. Like
it was
rough with like body dysmorphia and then all of that. Jeez.
So that's why I love the show. Next in Fashion. Tiffany and I've talked about this. We love Next in Fashion. Like they literally have they have them work with plus size models, and I'm like,
as they should,
and they look stunning. Like,
and I don't know what that would have done to me as like, because that's what I was watching all the early 2000s stuff. Like everybody, like I remember like all the teenage movies, even like all the press, like they were calling like Nicole Richie big on Simple Life. Like,
oh my God. Yeah,
it was crazy. I was like a Girls Next Door like fan because I watched stuff at the Playboy Mansion. They were calling like Bridget the big one. Like, I just don't understand. But it's not even it's just all the attention on body image.
Yes. Yeah. And like America's Next Top Model. Holy shit, that show was so
I can't watch that.
So toxic. Literally, like there'd be a model who was like maybe a size 6, and they were like, "Oh, like you're a plus size model." What?
I can't watch.
Well, put me on the runway. How like are you kidding me? I'll strut. Get out of here. It was out of control.
Yeah, that's the original. Because this is 2005.
Because at the end it's like 2006 coming out. Here's a tidbit, and I'm like, that's why I love being in these OGs. I love when they have like ads to rip out too. For contests, I eat all of that up.
Yeah.
Is yours a hardcover?
Yeah, this is the hardcover.
Oh, okay.
Punch on the back.
I love it.
I just found an OG one with the step back at a Half Price Bugs.
Oh, nice.
And this is the next time we go shopping together, Ava, I'm just buying it because the last time we were in that big, I forget what it was called.
It's the flagship half price.
Flagship half price. I don't know how, but she finds the Lisa Kleypas and like she had like 4 of them, and she's like, I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna get anything because we're already at a signing. And she's like, she's like, I just buy them anytime I see them, and I'm like, I bought those books. They were gorgeous. All had step backs, like originals. Like they were stunning.
I found the entire Hathaway collection with step backs at that store.
Whoa.
Yes. She found the gold mine, and I'm over there looking at Zane. I was having like a nostalgic moment because that was the first book.
Well, it's hard when you're traveling too, and then you're like, oh no,
I had my car.
But then you want to stop yourself later.
I know. Yeah. It's like next time it's like, no, you find a way.
I'll ship them to you. That's what I did for Zay. I just shipped them to her.
Gosh, they were stunning. the entire series.
There's
Greed
other
and
ways to
gluttony.
portray
We
greed
get
and
it, but it
gluttony.
may, yeah.
And
Exactly.
they do in that book. And so, yeah, I think that's, yeah, like that just makes you really, that's going to be the one edit that I'm really going to be happy to see. Even though he's the villain, I don't care. I don't care. Like,
Yeah.
when it comes to like over the top descriptions of like body, like stuff like that, like, no, ma'am. So,
Yeah.
I also wanted to ask about, because I haven't read further along and I haven't read the Hathaways either. In the prologue, the part that was cut about the orchid, in her formula for once he realizes like, wow, she's got a superior nose and just natural ability, she must have been a prodigy, he brings out his perfumes that he's mixed, and this is the love potion. And there he mentions the orchid, the Lady of the Night orchid, and he says, I think you should swap that out for the lavender or whatever. Does that come up later? Like, is there like a character that grows flowers, or like the Lady of the Night orchid is like mentioned? And I'm like, is
think so?
Maybe.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I mean, that would be like a detail. So
I think it's a very small detail. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't remember that, but yeah.
If it is, it's not a big thing that any of us can remember, I guess.
There's definitely a lot of characters I feel like who are like farmers or like kind of deal with like plants and stuff in her books and in her series. So.
That's so true. See, that's how sneaky this stuff is. Andy, a size 6. And then there's like a moment they're in Paris, and I know every single line. And they do the little tap, and he's like, "You bet your size 6 ass," and she's like, 4. Like, it's like this thing, and I'm like, "Oh my god."
Yeah,
that's so true.
Yeah, absolutely, especially in the fashion industry in the early 2000s. Like, yeah.
Oh,
and that was like later.
Wait, Helen. And
okay.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because I'm like, Lady in that. I'm like, why
Helen
are
is Reese Winterbourne.
Oh, the second one. Yeah.
Okay.
Arian Winterbourne.
Okay.
Yep.
Sometimes they all blur together for me, honestly, and it's bad.
I do like them all being at Stony Cross. Like, at first I was like, there's so many house parties here, and I love it. And the well, I'm like, this wishing well, like where St. Vincent comes up to her, and they're literally at the well that she saw Annabelle and Simon at the night before. And they're
that
like,
was Livia and Gideon.
Livia and Gideon.
Yeah.
At the well where they met. I loved that. I was like, oh my god, this is everything. I was tracking him, so I wasn't expecting. Once I looked up the synopsis and I'm like, this is the guy. I'm like, they're kissing. There were a lot of moments. Yeah, I was like, so like Devil is like over here kissing Lillian in the garden. Like, what is going on here? Is he seriously pursuing her? Until I figured out like what was going on, like with his fortune and stuff. I was really shocked that this is going on. And I
like early on to it too, even before obviously he takes a different route later on in the book. But I feel like that early on stuff with her, he was just messing with her because it would push Marcus. Yeah. So I don't think he was like ever interested in her personally. Like, I feel like he just gets desperate at the end and like is willing to do whatever. But I don't think he was like, I think respected her, but I don't think he was ever like into her.
Yeah, she's begging him in the garden. Like, you're not gonna kiss me. You brought me out here to talk.
Yeah.
Right.
I was like, Lillian. I liked that. And then hearing more tea. Apparently, this happened before between Marcus and him.
Oh yeah,
right. And he did this before, except at that time he didn't really care about her. So oh my gosh. So it worked this time. Shoot.
That's true. I don't think he would have done this if not for the Countess being like, hey, I have an opportunity for you. Like, yeah.
She's probably one of the worst, like, historical mothers I've read. Besides,
horrible.
Obviously, in Penelope and Colin's book, the stepmother is bad.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Yeah, no.
She was horrible. I was like, once I found out her tea and then all of that, and then she goes all the way out to the garden.
Woo, that was some juicy drama, man, towards the end of that book.
Yeah.
I remember when I read it for the first time, I feel like the synopsis gives a little bit of it away, and I purposefully like don't usually read synopses before reading books. So when the kidnapping happened, you know, when I first read the book, I was like, whoa, what is going on here?
Yeah,
same.
Like,
Yeah.
Same.
What?
And I was getting geeking out. I was like, there's no chloroform at this time. I was getting really like, because I was like, they're describing chloroform.
Tiffany's becoming
"Oh,
a scientist.
I was like, okay, Ether. All right. Okay, Lisa, I'm here. But I was really surprised too, because I knew it was something, but I don't know why I didn't get it. Because I was like, do not go meet her all the way out here. But because she didn't hit her with the cane, she mentions thinking that she was going to hit her.
Yeah.
with the cane.
She thinks she's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just living for, I'm like, Lillian is the man for him, because Lillian was not going to shy away from the vitriol she was spitting at her about her not being good enough in the family line. And I love how she talks about it akin to religion, like her really believing that the line is tainted. And like, she tells her like, look, I loved what she said to her in that moment. So I was like thriving with how she was dishing it back to her. It caught me completely off guard. Because I was like, what? She's like kidnapped. And then I was not expecting to see Sebastian. I'm like, we're coming to you. Okay, what is going on here, sir?
Some twists and turns.
Yeah, I was like,
yeah.
And it was like the perfect, like he was like the perfect bit of creepiness, like during that scene in the carriage, the things that he was saying to her and stuff. And I was like, ooh, I forgot about this. Like,
Which I know a lot of people hated going into the next book because they just couldn't get over how he was in this book as the villain. And like, I still know, a lot of people still don't like him.
But I like when historical authors are able to do the redemptive.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
I will say it's interesting because he like kidnaps Lillian in a carriage, and like the first time that Evie and Saint Vincent are like truly alone together is in a carriage as well, and the way he treats her is completely different. And like you'll see Tiffany like breaks her hot bricks because her feet are cold. Like,
I like this because the thing I hope I'm not a horrible person. It wasn't him kidnapping Lillian that got me. It's the way that he talks about Evie when she comes in. Well, she comes in and like takes the cloak off and it's red hair, and he's talking about like how she is and like how he's avoided her and like how she's just basically comparing her to Lillian. Like this one's shy. She's, too scared. Like that made me not like him. Not the kidnapping. Because in the kidnapping, I'm like, look, I get it. This is not the hero. This man is out of money. Whatever it's money, I'm like, she's not gonna die. Like when I was reading it, I think it works for me when you have like a formidable, like a worthy opponent, which was Lillian. So she could buffet that. So I didn't see her as like, even though she was in this moment, a victim. She was going toe to toe with him, verbally sparring. And so it kind of, for me, when he was like, well, it wouldn't be rape. Like, I'll get you into it. Well, we're consummating this marriage. Like,
right.
Like, we're going to get married. Marcus won't be able to do anything. Like, I'm after your money. It was just very like, I have to do this. And I don't know why, maybe because I read a lot of Captor Captive. It just did it. I'm like, this is just peak, drama. And just
exactly.
And the fact that she said, like, is this the same guy that was so kind and sweet to me? Yes, like the complexity of that.
Men are awful.
But when Evie comes in and you talk about her.
Men are awful.
Okay, let's switch up those recessive grades.
Okay. Failure to taint the bloodlines is how you end up with the buried.
That's so great.
Yeah.
Well, and like the fact that she's saying that when she's over there getting with footmen, like, ma'am, like you have no room to talk. What are you like?
And defending it, talking about I had me.
Exactly.
And that's what's
I can't even with her
about like her character is that she does display like just how it was done back then. It was totally fine for married nobility to go have their affairs with people of lower stature or whatever, as long as it didn't cause a scandal. And it didn't, because the old Earl claimed Livia as his own. But how dare you, go out and marry someone an American?
Yeah, how dare you be interested in an American?
Yeah, and marry
who has money.
That's so true.
Right.
That's so true.
Yeah.
I was shocked.
And he even said, like, have her as your miss, fine, you know, marry someone else and still see her. And then when you're done with her, I was like, ooh.
I
Right.
agree
And
with
that's
that.
how it was done. That
Yeah.
like,
Of
yeah.
the time, very much. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it was very much done that if she thought, even after doing that she was still going to be the dowager at some point after he got married. She, like, I like the moment where he confronts her and there's a moment where she's actually fearful. She's so shocked that Marcus would send her away from the home. That's also, like, I like how that spoke to, like, she was just so comfortable and behaving as such, even like having the door locked, like, I'm taking a nap, you know, you'll deal with it, we'll move on. And she thought that she could intervene in that way. And no, I think she was very shocked when he just was like, get her out.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think she expected him to do that.
No, he's always been the dutiful son. So.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I felt like that on the beach. There was so much sand.
St. Vincent's is a
that
lady.
was funny. I forgot about that. They went upstairs and they're like crashing things and like.
Yeah. Well, I agree. Like, St. Vincent was just he's a lot of talk. He's one of those cocky, pampered boys who, like, he just says a lot of things and it gets him into trouble. But, like, I don't think he would have gone through with, like, what was set up there. Like, I don't think he would have gone through with Lillian.
He didn't even properly secure her. His little, like, personalized cuffs.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, what is this? And I was like, what is this gonna come up later? You got personalized cuffs? I don't know. I'm bad. I was like, oh yeah. I really like that with the pearls. Nice touch, Lisa.
Oh yeah.
I was like, oh my God.
I was genuinely surprised by Devlin Winter because I wasn't really liking St. Vincent by the end of book 2. He was a fun side character until the end. And then I was wondering how she'd redeem him.
Yeah, because even reading, I'm like, we're going to talk about the next book for the next slide, but even like the ending and I'm knowing that it's Evie that shows up underneath the cloak, what he says about her in just the very first chapter, when I like about her, like about her stammer, the way that she looks, how he's trying to avoid her, like the way that he's talking about this woman at his lowest point, like he's lost all like, but that really turned me off of him, like more so than what happened.
He has some work to do to get back.
For sure.
I'm interested to see what I'm going to think about Devlin Winter upon reread, because I actually never like fully became a fan of Sebastian until I saw him as a parent later.
Really?
I liked Devlin Winter, but like I didn't feel like his character was fully redeemed until I saw him being like Daddy Sebastian. So I'm very interested to see if my feelings about him in his own book change.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're right, B. He did run. He
ran, girl. He ran up those stairs.
Not him leaving to go do something in the inn and just kind of strolling on back like,
yeah.
That was so funny.
He was like convinced that no one would follow them.
Oh, Lord.
Okay. Do we have anything else we'd love to mention?
Not that I can think of.
I'm excited to read the next book. Obviously, our next book is going to be Devil in Winter.
I'm so excited.
We've been talking about it, and
I feel like St. Vincent stole the show here, like took over.
He did,
Marcus.
So he's kind of right how he's kind of like Colin, because we always end up talking about Colin too.
Yeah, and it's like he ended up, you know, should we thank him for them being together? Like truly, because he was instigating and stirring the pot the entire time.
Yeah.
I stopped reading to go look up the synopsis for the next book because I was like, this is too much. This guy, does he get a book? So dumb.
That's how I am too, though, Tiffany. When I'm reading, especially historical romance series, for some reason, if there's a character that I find really interesting, I'm like, please tell me they get a book.
Yeah, I'm like, does he get a book? Oh my gosh. Yeah, Colin. Yes. Because he's actually doing things and whatever. We're not gonna.
Okay, do we have the date for the next one?
Yeah, it's the 13th. October 13th.
October 13th.
Oh, I love that.
I have
an
an original copy of 2 of that one.
I'll have to read along and listen because I haven't done that because I forgot about them changing stuff. So I want to know like what all the changes are. So I'll have to.
Yeah, definitely. I would recommend that for all of you to if you have access to like an original copy and then listen to the audiobook because it's now edited. Yeah, that's definitely what I'm gonna plan on to do from now on for sure.
Yeah, which I feel like this one's talked about the most for the edit, like of the plum like after scene. But yeah, I'm interested to see what all is changed in the rest of them.
You're right. We don't really know. Like, I don't know. Does anybody know what's been? I don't even know what's been.
I haven't heard anything, but based off how this was edited, I can only assume that that one character is going to be edited. But I don't know. I don't know about
maybe some minor stuff.
Yeah.
It's on my channel.
Yeah. It's my favorite. Christy's channel.
Well, I think we're going to talk about that one for a while because there's a lot to talk about in that one.
Yeah.
So
I'm so excited. I kind of want to read it right now.
I know. Which I guess it's not too far off, but
it's not too far, honestly.
Yeah.
It's not. I'm excited about that because I'm ready. Since reading the first chapter. Oh my gosh. They're gonna be such a good match. I want to see him be on his knees. I want to see the art. I want to see it.
Yeah.
So is it the tropes for Devil in Winter? Is it marriage of convenience?
I feel like you have to wait and see.
I feel like that's an obvious one. I feel like marriage of convenience is an obvious one.
Just how they
could have sent her out.
I mean, the fact that she literally says, I have a proposal for you, like at the very end of this,
He better be nice to her because and I want him to get her family. Get them the way they've been treating her. I'm done. So I can't wait for October 13th.
Well, I love how many people are reading this for the first time.
I know. Yeah. I think quite a few people have been reading this series for the first time.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's so good. And it does feel like I like the found family feel. We get to see, although I wanted to like see the baby McKenna and Eileen, but like I like that we hear of them. We still see Livia and Gideon just being like insufferably all consuming in love in the background. And like, we get to see everybody. Like I loved how Simon played such a big role of being Marcus's friend in this. So I'm happy that we get to see all of the couples and that we keep coming back to Stony Cross Park. I like that. So I'm interested in seeing how that happens with Devil in Winter after everything that happened.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
You sound like Keke Palmer there.
So good. After he done did what he did, we shall see.
Got his ass beat.
Okay. Ran. Okay. How are we getting the Wallflowers together? And are they going to stand for this? Oh, what's Lillian? Anyway.
I know. Juicy drama. Drama.
Yeah. It's going to be good.
Okay. Well, I think we'll end it here. Are we all good?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we will see you next month for Devil in Winter on Christy's channel on the 13th. So
yes.
I'm excited.
So excited.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.